Uh, Hello and welcome everyone. Uh, uh, my name is Yasir Gulfraz and today I'm tutor for your session uh, learning outcome 3, which is be able to design business research methodologies, advanced business research method. So today we will be discussing the topic of designing business research methodologies. This is a very essential skill for any business professional as it allows us to gather valuable insights and make informed decisions. Research methodologies refer to the systematic approach we take to conduct research and collect data. It involves a series of steps that help us gather, analyze, and interpret information effectively. So let's explore some key points on designing business research methodologies. Business research methodologies involves defining research objectives, formulating research questions, selecting appropriate designs and sampling techniques, collecting data, analyzing and interpreting the data, and finally draw a conclusion and making recommendation. Making a recommendation. By following these steps and utilizing sound research methodologies, we can ensure our business research is systematic, reliable, and provides valuable insights for informed decision making. So any questions so far or anything else which you want to ask? Can you see my screen? Hi, anyone is there? Hello, anybody is there? Can you hear me? Okay. So learning objectives, understanding research philosophy and its importance in research, understanding different type of research philosophies, applying appropriate research philosophy among the choice available to a researcher. So we are going to discuss important aspect of research. Research philosophy. Research philosophy plays a significant role in shaping the way of approach and conduct our research studies. So by the end of this lecture, you will have a clear understanding of research philosophy, its important and the different type of research philosophy. Research philosophy is essential and important tool because it shapes our research approach and helps us define the purpose and direction of our studies. By understanding the different types of research philosophies, such as positivism and pragmatism, researchers can make informed choices about the methods and techniques may employ in their research. Research onion. So here are different kind of, you can see layers. So is research layers like onion. So research onion is like a tool that help researchers navigate the various layers of a research project. Just like an onion has multiple layers, research also involves several stages or layers that we need to peel back. By understanding these layers, we can conduct effective and reliable research. Research onion in a nutshell, by peeling back each layer, researchers can conduct rigorous and well-structured studies. So remember one thing, one thing that consider each layer, remember to consider each layer to the research onion when planning and conducting your research projects. So research philosophy, your research methods chapter commences with a review of those available and most important statement by you. The author has adopted XYZ as an appropriate philosophy of research because then how do you work out which philosophy to use? Guess, copy someone else, map the ontological status of your research objectives. So here we are going to discuss philosophy of research and how it influences our approach to conducting research. In particular, we'll be looking at X, Y, Z as an appropriate philosophy of research. So the first question we need to address is what a philosophy of research. So simply put, it's a framework or set of principles that guide our thinking and decision making throughout the research process. It also helps us understand the nature of knowledge, how it can be obtained, and how we can interpret it. So let's talk about why the author has adopted XYZ as an appropriate philosophy for research. XYZ has been chosen because it offers several advantages and aligns well with the research goals. One important aspect is its emphasis on practically and simplicity. XYZ provides a straightforward and accessible approach to conducting research, which is especially helpful for researchers who are new to the field or for studies that involves complex topics. Another reason for choosing XYZ is its focus on a direct interaction. This means that the researcher actively engages with the participants or the subject of the study, allowing for a more comprehensive understanding of the research topic. By directly interacting with individuals or phenomena, researchers can gather first-hand information and insights, which often leads to a richer and more accurate finding. Any questions so far? Hello? Okay. So here some questions. The question is about research philosophy, which says, how do you work out which philosophy to use? Any idea or anybody can tell me? Anyone? Okay. So, you know that now we are, especially when we discuss how to determine which philosophy to use in your research endeavors, when it comes to choosing a research philosophy, you have a few options. So let's, examine them one by one. First one is guess, then copy someone else. Then third one is map the ontological status of your research objectives. First one, which is A, is to simply guess. While it may seem tempting to rely on guesswork, with this approach is not recommended. Research requires a systematic and rigorous approach, and making decisions based on mere speculation can lead to unreliable and invalid results. Option B involves copying someone else's philosophy. So now, while it is perfectly acceptable to draw inspiration from existing research philosophies, blindly adopting someone else's approach without careful consideration is not advisable. Your research should reflect your unique objectives, your own objectives and perspectives, which may differ from those of others. And last one is involve mapping the ontological status of your research and research objectives. What does that mean in simpler term? It means taking a close look at the nature of your research goals and understanding how they relate to the fundamental nature of reality. By mapping the ontological status of your research objectives, you are essentially trying to determine the underlying assumptions and beliefs that shape your research. Any question so far? Okay. If your research chapter does not have a strong statement of the philosophy adopted, so it is unlikely to score highly. The philosophy has a distinct influence on the individual research methods selected. So if you randomly pick a bunch of methods without an underpinning philosophy, it is questionable whether your research will hold any value at all. It's like let's say building a house without a solid foundation. You need that philosophy framework to guide your choices and ensure that your methods align with your overall research goals. Second is a selection of methods without an underpinning philosophy is of questionable value, as I said. So many friends, when you are working on your research project, remembers to clearly articulate the philosophy behind your work. Don't underestimate its significance. So by doing so, you will demonstrate a thoughtful approach to your research and increase the chances of achieving higher scores and gather academic success. Why research philosophy matters? Anyone can tell me why about this question? Hello? Okay. Influenced by the way you think about the development of knowledge, because this will affect the way you go about the research itself. The three views on research philosophy predominate: positivism, interpretivism, and realism. So here, positivism. So positivism, the philosophy emphasizes the objectives and scientific nature of research. Positive belief that knowledge can be obtained through direct observation, measurements, and the application of logical resourcing. Next one is interpretivism. So is contrast to positivism. Interpretivism focuses on the subjective nature of human experience and the importance of understanding context. Interpretivists believe that individuals attach meaning to their experience and that knowledge is socially constructed. Then is realism. Realism take a middle ground approach, acknowledging both the objectives and subjective aspect of research. Realism believe that there is an external reality that exists independently of our perceptions, but they also recognize that our understanding of reality is shaped by our interpretation. It is important to note that these three philosophies are not mutually exclusive, and researchers may adopt different aspects of each, depending on their research goals and the nature of the research topic. The choice of research philosophy should align with the research questions and the desired outcomes. So positivism, as I explained, that little bit, explained their definitions and, quick, but that now we'll be discussing that fascinating perspective called positivism. So positivism is a viewpoint that suggests we should focus on study, observation, aspect of, reality, like according to here, Ramini et al. And some others, 1998, 32, suggest it is preferred by those who prefer working with an observable social reality, and that the end product of such research can be law-like generalization. So what exactly is positivism? Well, it is based on the idea that anything that exists can be verified through experiments, observations, and mathematical or logical proof. In other words, positivists believe that if we cannot observe or prove something, then it does not exist. Positivism offers a valuable perspective for studying social reality by prioritizing observation, experimentation, and verifiable evidence. It aims to establish law-like generalizations. While positivism has its strengths and limitations, it remains an influential approach in many fields of research. Positivism assumes. So firstly, positivism assumes that the researcher is independent. What does that mean? Anybody can tell me, or anybody can explain? Hello? Anybody can tell me? Okay. Positivism assumes that the researcher is independent. Why does that mean? It means that the researcher should remain neutral and objective when conducting their study. So secondly, positivism suggests that the data should be value free. This means that the data collected during the research should not be influenced by the researcher's proposal, values, belief, or opinions. Instead, the data should be based on observable facts and objectives measurements. Third one is positivism emphasizes a highly structured methodology. In other words, the research process should follow a clear and well-defined set of steps. So last one is to facilitate replication and quantifiable analysis that can be subjected to statistical analysis. Replication means that other researchers should be able to repeat the study and obtain similar results. This is important for verifying the validity of the finding. Quantifiable analysis refers to the use of numerical data that can be subjected to statistical analysis. This allows researchers to draw conclusions based on objective measurements and identify patterns or relationships in the data. Next one is interpretivism. This is uh, 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 this approach emphasizes the importance of understanding the meaning and interpretations that individuals and group attach to their experiences. So, and the social world around them. Unlike other research approaches that rely heavily on numbers and statistics, interpretivism focuses on capturing the richness and complexity of human experiences through qualitative methods. Qualitative methods such as unstructured interviews and participant observation play a central role in interpretivist research. Unstructured interview allows researcher to have open-ended conversation with participants, enabling them to explore and understand the various perspectives, values, and meaning that individuals hold. On the other hand, participant observation involves immersing on self in the social setting being studied, observing and engaging with participants to gain a deep understanding of their behaviors, interaction, and interpretations. One key aspect of interpretivism is recognizing that both the researcher and the human subjects are uh, instrumental in the process of measuring and understanding phenomena. The trained researcher act an instrument of inquiry, bringing their knowledge, skills, and expertise to the study. Interpretivism is often, embraced by researchers who believe that the business world or any social system is too intricate and multifaceted to be reduced to simple cause and effect relationships or laws. So next one is interpretivism. One of the strengths of interpretivism is its ability to provide us with greater and richer insights into social process by studying how individuals interpret and make sense of their experiences. We can gain a deeper understanding of the underlying dynamics at play. In contrast of functionalism, which seeks to identify general laws or principles that govern social behavior, interpretivism acknowledges the uniqueness and individuality of human experience. So, similarly, let's consider of the example of leadership. Functionalism may try to identify a set of traits or behavior that define an effective leader, assuming that these traits or behaviors will always lead to successful outcomes. However, interpretivism recognizes that leadership is a complex social phenomenon influenced by various factors such as the organizational context, followers, perceptions, and the leader personal background. Similarly, concepts like motivation and risk cannot be entirely reduced to a series of generalized laws. Motivation, for instance, is highly subjective and influenced by individual desires, needs, and personal goals. Risk perception can vary greatly among individuals based on their past experience, cultural background, and social context. Any questions so far? Anybody there? Okay, here is discussing the suitability of business situations that are context specific. So having a context specific business situation allows us to tailor our strategies and decisions to fit the specific needs and challenges of each situation. By considering the unique aspects of scenario, organizations can make more informed choices and increase their chances of success. This level of customization is particularly important in today's diverse and rapidly changing business landscape. Business situations that are context specific provide organizations with the flexibility to address unique challenges and tailor their approaches accordingly. However, this specifically hampers the generalizability of research finding, limiting their applicability to specific situations only. To mitigate this situation, we need to strike a balance by identifying and emphasizing fundamental principles that can transcend contextual boundaries. By doing so, we can enhance our understanding of business dynamics and make more informed decisions that benefit organizations across various sectors. Any questions so far? Any question? Okay, anybody is there? So next one is realism. So realism is based on the belief that there is a reality that exists independently to our thoughts and perceptions. In other words, it suggests that there is a world out there that exists whether we are aware of it or not. Realism also recognizes that there are powerful social forces at play that can affect people without them even realizing it. These forces can shape our thoughts, beliefs, and action without our conscious awareness. In some ways, realism is similar to positivism, which is another philosophical perspective. Both realism and positivism agree that there are external factors that influence our perceptions of reality. Realism, therefore, encourages us to consider that the existence of a reality beyond our own minds and to be aware of the social forces that shape our perceptions. How do you choose a research philosophy? There are three important variables that you must consider. First one is ontology, epistemology, and axiology. First one is ontology. Choosing a research philosophy, we will start talking, research philosophy involves considering three important variables, as it says on ontology, epistemology, and axiology. So first, let's talk about ontology. Ontology is about understanding the nature of reality and what exists in the world. When choosing a research philosophy, you need to decide whether you believe in a single objective reality or multiple subjective realities. Second one is epistemology is concerned with how knowledge is acquired and what constitutes valid knowledge. It deals with questions like how do we what we know, are there certain methods or criteria that can help us establish knowledge. When selecting a research philosophy, you should consider whether you believe in objective truths that can be discovered through scientific methods, or if you think knowledge is more subjective and influenced by personal perspectives and social contexts. Third one is axiology. Axiology focuses on the value and ethics that underpin research. It involves considering the moral and ethical aspects of your research, including the potential impact on aspect of your research, including potential impact on participants and society. When choosing a research philosophy, you need to think about the values and ethical principles that guide your work. Are there any specific ethical guideline or principle you adhere to, such as respect for human rights, fairness, or transparency? So, to put it simply, ontology is all about understanding what things are and how they relate to one another. It's like taking a closer look to the building blocks of reality. Imagine you are trying to answer the question, what is real? The precisely what ontology aims to uncover. So, ontology and philosophy. So, here we are going to explore three different philosophical approaches: positivism, realism, and interpretivism. So start with positivism. Knowledge views knowledge as something external to us, meaning it exists outside of our thoughts and experience. It emphasizes objectivity, which means that knowledge can be discovered and understood in an unbiased manner. According to positivism, knowledge is independent of social sectors such as individuals or group. So next is realism. This perspective also emphasizes objectivity. Realism states that things exist independently of human thought. In other words, the world that its phenomena exist regardless of whether we perceive them or not. Realists believe in the existence of objects, events, and facts that can be observed and studied. So, last one is interpretivism. Unlike positivism and realism, interpretivism urges that knowledge is socially constructed. This means that our understanding of the world is shaped by social factors such as culture, language, and historical context. Interpretivists emphasize subjectivity, which suggests that different individuals or group may interpret the same phenomenon differently. Epistemology. This is a branch of philosophy that investigates the origin, nature, methods, and limits of human knowledge. Imagine you are exploring a new subject, say biology. You might wonder what counts as a valid knowledge in biology. It is based on rigorous scientific experiments, observations, or combination of both. Epistemology helps us answer these questions by scrutinizing the methods and criteria we use to establish knowledge in a specific field. Epistemology is an essential branch of philosophy that investigates the origin, nature, methods, and limits of human knowledge. It guides us in determining what can be considered acceptable knowledge in particular field of study. Through this exploration, we sharpen our critical thinking skills and enhance our ability to separate fact from fiction. So, epistemology and philosophy again focus on three important perspectives: positivism, realism, and interpretivism. Positivism focus on observable phenomena and general laws, aiming to reduce complexity to its simplest elements. Realism acknowledges the importance of observation phenomena, but recognizes potential inaccuracies and the role of context. Interpretivism places a strong emphasis on subjective meanings and the social aspect of phenomena, seeking to uncover the underlying reality behind the details. So these three perspectives offer different lenses through which we can view and understand the world around us. By exploring the appreciating these diverse approaches, we can gain a deeper and more we can more understanding of the nature of knowledge and the complexities of human experiences. Axiology, which is a branch of philosophy that examines value judgment. In simpler terms, axiology explored the study of what we consider valuable or important in life. It asks questions like what is good, what is beautiful, and what is morally right. Axiology and philosophy. Is axiology and philosophy finding that the emphasis and those that this is here, sorry about that. When discuss the data that is gathered and what is not. In research, we collect the data, collect various type of data to gain, to gain inside the research. So when when we talk about axiology, it touch upon the casualties that are claimed and those that are not. Researchers aim to identify causal relationships, which means establishing a cause and effect connections between variables. However, making causal claims require rigorous analysis, evidence, and often multiple studies to support such conclusions. A researcher needs to be cautious in claiming causality without scientific evidence, as correlation does not always imply causation. So here again, there are three philosophies: research, positivism, and realism. In this approach, research is conducted in a value-free manner. This means the researchers strive to remain unbiased and independent from the data they collect. So realism, this perspective takes a different stance. Research in realism is value-laden, meaning that the researcher's personal values, cultural background, and experiences play a significant role in shaping the research process. So last one is again interpretivism. In this, research values are considered intrinsic to the research process. The researcher cannot be separated from what is being studied, and therefore subjectivity is embraced. Interpretivism recognizes that individuals and group have unique experience and interpretations of the world, which are influenced by their culture, language, and social interactions. Any questions so far? Anybody can see my screen? Okay. Which philosophy is best is the wrong question. They're all the best, but at different things. The majority of management research will be spread across these individuals' approaches, and consequently, a mixed approach is often required. There are several management philosophies, such as scientific management, human relations, system theory, contingency theory, and many more. Each philosophy has its own strengths and weaknesses, and they are designed to address different aspects of managing organizations. So, in fact, the majority of management research is spread across these individual approaches. Scholars and practitioners often recognize that a mixed or integrated approach is necessary or effectively tackle the complexities of management by drawing from multiple philosophies. Managers can tap into a wider range of tools and strategies to address various organizational issues. The concept of a single best management, what he's talking about, which philosophies, the single best management philosophy is flawed. Instead, a mixed or integrated approach that combines the strengths of various philosophies is often required. By doing so, managers can effectively address the diverse challenges and complexities that arise in today's dynamic business environment. So here we will talk about mixed approach. Mixed approach and why it doesn't mean you can adopt all three approaches at once. First thing, it is important to understand that when we talk about research approaches, we generally refer to three main types: quantitative, then qualitative, and mixed methods. So each approach has its own unique characteristics and serves different purposes. However, some researchers may wonder if it's possible to combine these approaches into a mixed approach. So the answer is both yes and no. While it is true that researchers can sometimes integrate elements from different approaches into their studies, it is essential to note that a mixed approach does not mean adopting all three approaches. Simultaneously, instead, it involves carefully selecting and incorporating elements from different approaches based on the research objectives and the nature of the study. Deduction versus inductions. Deduction is a process that involves testing a started hypothesis. In other words, we start with a hypothesis, which is an educated guess or a proposed explanation for something. This hypothesis is developed through a very close understanding of the existing literature or previous research in the field. Any question about deduction? Anyone can, if you want, you can ask if there is any question. So the next one is induction. Usually involves gathering data and searching for theoretical linkages afterwards. Induction is basically a different approach that involves in gathering data first and then searching for theoretical linkages or patterns afterwards. In contrast to deduction, induction is associated with the bottom-up approach. We start with specific observations or data, and they try to, diverse general principle of theories based on those observations. Do you enough knowledge of the literature to develop a hypothesis? Probably not. Do you have enough time to gather data in a largely understanding unstructured manner and then attempt to and theoretical sense afterwards? Again, probably not. So when it comes to developing a hypothesis, it is essential to have a solid understanding of the existing literature on the subject. As an intermediate level student, it is likely that you may not possess the necessary depth of knowledge to formulate a hypothesis confidently. Developing a hypothesis requires a comprehensive review of the relevant research, which may be better suited for experts or those with the extensive knowledge in the field. So next is topic, next question, he says, do you have enough time to gather data in largely unstructured manner and then attempt to add theoretical sense afterward? Answer, probably not. So gathering data in an unstructured manner can be a time-consuming process that involves collecting information from various sources, conducting surveys or experiments, and analyzing the gathered data. It requires careful planning and organization to ensure that the data collected is relevant and meaningful. Additionally, attempting to add theoretical sense to the data afterward can be quite challenging, as it requires a deep understanding of the subject matter and the ability to draw meaningful conclusions from the data collected. Deduction. To test a hypothesis, deduction usually implies that your researcher has control over the variable. And because of this control, you can design a highly structured methodology suitable for replications. In reality, deduction can be used even when the researchers does not have direct control over the variables being studied. Deductive reasoning involves making logical connections between premises and drawing conclusion based on them. These premises can come from a variety of sources, such as previous research, existing theories, or empirical evidence. So while control over variable can certainly be advantageous, it is not a prerequisite for using deductions to test hypotheses. So deduction allows for highly structured methodologies suitable for replications. While it is true that structured methodologies are valuable in scientific research, it is not accurate to claim that deduction alone guarantees this. The design of a highly structured methodology depends on various factors, including the nature of the research question, available resources, and the specific field of study. Deduction can certainly be incorporated into a structured research design, but it is not the sole determinant of such methodology. So it is likely that you will be able to formulate a critically evaluated theory by gathering the data first, probably not. Consequently, do not offer pages of the difference between induction, or as it likely that you will not need either. You might need a combined approaches. So when it comes to formulating critically evaluating theory, it is unlikely that we can rely solely on data gathering or any single approach. A combined approach that incorporates both inductions and deduction, along with the critical along a combined approach that incorporated both inductions and deduction, along with the critical evaluation, is more likely to yield reliable and well supported theories. So that's all for today. If there is any question or anything else, you can drop me an email at yasir@ukversity.co.uk. And that's it for today. See you in next class, and bye for today.